I know that one of the projects that you and I work on together, the Earth Species Project, where these generative AI models may help us understand other sentience.
Earth Species Project is a fantastic project. We have these machine translation techniques that we have started using that were unsupervised, which is to say, it used to be that if I wanted to translate English to Spanish, then I would have to label and say, mom equals madre. But when we looked at large corpuses of data in both the languages, we started to see that there were structures, almost geometric structures in an n-dimensional space, a bit like constellations, right? That was great. We figured this out. The observation from Asa Raskin and Katie Zakarin, who are the co-founders of this, was, well, look, that's cool. Well, what about all of these other species that we believe have some form of intelligence, and they are certainly communicating with each other? For instance, we have evidence that there are pods of whales that have been around for centuries that pass culture from one generation to the next. And so can we look at the ways in which they communicate and, again, use this as a transducer so that we can actually understand what it is they are saying, and can we speak back to them? That's the overall goal and focus of the project. And you can imagine with generative techniques, right? I can, as an example, kind of autocomplete a sentence or really a whole paragraph just with a little bit of context. So you can do some of those same kinds of things if you went to autocomplete a bird song. Historically, what we would do in some of the studies is you would mimic something, play something back. But that's a little bit like talking in a mirror, and sometimes that gets a little awkward. I mean, if Reid, you and I were talking, but it was constantly Reid talking back to you and saying the exact same thing that you said, you just be like a little kid, just stop doing that. Stop repeating what I say. But if you could really use these generative techniques to talk to other species, both to generate it and to understand it, that would be really powerful for several reasons. One, it actually gives us insight into the epistemology of these other species. Two, we can learn from them. I mean, it's really curious to understand a culture that has been going for hundreds of years in the ocean actually has been passing along. I want to know that. But three, and maybe this is the most interesting, is it does start to ask the question of us about what our relationship is to them, what humanity's relationship is to all these other species. The Earth Species Project to me has been really exciting because it is potentially one of these world-changing moonshots in how we understand how we are in our relationship to the world. And if I didn't say this, I suspect Reid might add this in. If we ever encounter species outside of what we know and understand here on Earth, it gives us a head start on how we might communicate with them as well.